How are you?
I'm doing well. I got a little confused.
Why?
Well, because when we talked earlier, I was like, yeah, we're recording the Gemini season, right? And you said, yeah. And I was like, okay. And then I'm driving up here and I was like, God, I really thought Krystyn was a Gemini. Why did I think she was a Gemini? Because you are a Gemini.
I am.
But then I was like, what? Is this the birthday episode? But it's not.
Well, no, because I'm at the end of Gemini.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
But then I think we should do a little bit of both because you are a Gemini.
I am a Gemini.
So I think it could lead into your birthday episode. But I think, speaking from your personal experience is important on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely.
Naturally on this podcast, but on this episode in particular.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be doing that.
Okay. All right. We're going to do the good old welcome. Then we'll jump on into it. Welcome to Two Mystic Mamas.
Okay, so you are correct. We are talking about just rested your lips right on.
Sometimes I just need to
Jason Kelsey there. Wait, is yours Jason or is mine Jason? Yours is Jason.
I'm Jason.
Mine is Travis.
Okay. Yes, we're talking about the Gemini season 2025.
Which runs roughly May 21st to June 20th.
Yeah. They all start right around that same period, give or take.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think technically the 18th to the 23rd is what's considered cusp.
Yes.
Not just that 2021. I think it extends 18 to 23 to the best of my knowledge. But it's represented by the twins. My very first ever tattoo was a Gemini tattoo. It was on the back of my neck.
How old were you?
Oh, late 20s. I was not young when I started getting tattoos. And then it just
Were they twins or brothers?
Blew up.
The Gemini, the twins? I thought they were...
They're female.
I thought they were male.
Mm-mm.
Really?
Yeah. They're always represented by a female, at least that I've seen.
Yeah, I thought in my research, I read that they were brothers, but...
I mean, I'm sure that there might be some belief system that...
Yeah. The constellation of Gemini is visible in the night sky from December to June and is named after the twin brothers Castor and Pollux from Greek mythology. Castor and Pollux were the twin sons of Leda and Zeus, because Zeus couldn't be monogamous. Not that guy. After Castor's death, Pollux asked Zeus to let him share his immortality with his brother so that they could remain together forever.
Yeah, I just think it depends on what history you're pulling from, because the Egyptians represented them as goats and the Arabian astrology represents the twins as peacocks.
Yes, and the Romans honored Gemini with the Roman god Mercury. And the Egyptians, like you just mentioned, it was the god Thoth and the Christian apostle Paul.
As we've talked about in our previous zodiac episodes, every zodiac sign correlates with a constellation as well as a planet. And Gemini is an air sign. It is mutable, which means it's adaptable and it's flexible. And it is also represented by the planet Mercury, which is all about communication.
Yeah, it is.
So for my Gemini friends out there, you probably feel the pull of Mercury retrograde pretty powerfully like I do. And I really feel it I feel like the shadow periods are worse sometimes than the actual retrograde part for me.
Mm-hmm. And so the shadow periods are the periods either before or after a retrograde occurs.
They last about 2 weeks.
And that energy is definitely felt and palpable. And it's usually, to your point, it's not as intense as the retrograde, but it can still, especially if you are a Gemini or, if you're in that zodiac sign, when the retrograde occurs, you are affected usually more or feel it more intensely. So shadow periods are always a good time. So communication is always one of those broad terms, right? That I think you can break it down into different categories. And I think it's such an invaluable part of the human experience. Actually, I studied communication when I was in college. That was what my major was in. And I always said it was like a BS and BS. But, in all reality, it is a powerful tool. Women use it. Not that men can't communicate, but I feel like women are more capable of communicating and using words to get ideas and thoughts across with feeling and invocation. And I loved studying it because a lot of my courses would center around different people who have given speeches throughout time and like who were very effective, even if what they were saying wasn't necessarily true, but just how they were communicating. People were like
following that.
Yeah. It was like they fell right in line. They were like, oh, yes, whatever you're saying, it must be true because the way you're delivering it. And I think that I try to do this a lot with my kids is just how powerful our words are and how powerful communication can be in a positive way, also in a negative way, right? Because, kids tend to react without thinking sometimes, right? They don't have that, what is the word I'm looking for?
Filter?
Well, not the filter, but when
impulse control.
Yeah, impulse control, that's it. They don't have impulse control. And so they tend to react in a physical way instead of just processing. And so when you get into the words, it's like sometimes, with the kids, I'm like, oh, don't use those words, please. Like that's very, like either that's not kind, words have power. You have to think about what you say. You can't just say whatever you think. You have to think about the implications around that. And I think that's always an invaluable lesson that takes you far. So communication is just so incredibly important. I find it so invaluable.
Yeah. I've always had a tendency to be very like cerebral and very heady in what I talk about and like a very deep thinker. That's just kind of naturally always been the way that I've been. I always thought I was an extrovert, which I probably am more of like an ambivert now that I'm like an adult. Is that something that changes as you go through like seasons of life? I guess it could. I don't know if that's something that's like innately your nature. I don't know. And I wonder about that because there's so many personality tests out there. And I wonder like, does this translate to just like your innate nature based on your astrology? Because that's what my human design is, right? Or are these personality tests oh, are they more based around where you're at that point in your life?
I think they have to be because it's all psychology. It's all using your brain, right? Like you answer questions honestly and openly, but depending on what season of life you're in, the experiences that you have behind you that you're basing your feelings on shape who you are.
Right. But my human design isn't, because that's all based on birth chart.
Well, but certain personality tests are based on psychology, not birth charts, right? So like, I do think that it changes and shifts. And I feel like, for a long time, you either had to be one or the other. But then it's also one of those things that I've met a lot of people that are incredible public speakers, incredible, but they're introverts. They're not extroverts, right? So like after they're done talking, they don't want to do the mingle and hear all the praise and talk to people. It's like they have to like remove themselves and go and be away and like decompress because it was so much for them to even be up there, which is interesting to think about because they're so talented and you get so much again out of whatever is being spoken about. And that got me thinking a lot about myself as well, because I do at my core know that I'm an extrovert to a degree, but I very much value my downtime and my alone time.
I mean, I have no problem getting up on stage. I have no problem getting up and talking to people. As long as, again, this is that like Cap rising, Cap moon energy of mine is as long as I feel prepared, right?
Yes.
Then I feel super confident going up there.
Yes.
If I do not feel prepared, then I feel like a prepubescent girl who's like put on the spot.
Like a deer in headlights.
Right.
Yeah,
totally.
where you're like, I don't know anything. Please don't ask me anything.
Right.
Yeah, I'm same. And I can't be, how some people are like super quick-witted and you're just like, where did that come from? That was so, oh my God.
But see, that also for me is tied to my confidence. If I am in a space of feeling confident, I can like all day long.
Yeah.
If I am not feeling confident, I have no thoughts ever. I've never had a thought in my life. Ever.
I agree. And also with jokes, I've said this before. I suck at getting jokes. I hate when people say to me, "Oh, you want to hear a joke?" No, I don't. Please don't tell me a joke. Because you're going to tell me and it's probably going to be the easiest joke. And I'll be like, yeah, I wish my brain cells were working, but they're off. I don't know what to tell you. And then they're like, "Oh, do you want me to break it down for you?" Please. That would make me feel even better about the situation. Just break down the joke.
I don't know. I've always sought out connection through either spoken word, written word, lyrics, song, something. So that's always been a big thing. We've talked about this previously, is writing is like a big part of how I feel connection with certain things.
So this particular year for 2025, Gemini individuals, so yourself, it's going to be a big time for growth and for learning and for self-discovery, which again, if you are not a Gemini and you're listening to this, that is the overarching energy of this particular season. I do think the word Gemini just has such a beautiful flow to it, you know? Like Scorpio, not the same flow. Gemini.
Yeah, but Scorpions are also like terrifying.
Yeah, and
that's why it doesn't flow the same.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, it's interesting that
you ever see a set of twins and you were like, "Oh no, run!"
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I mean, if they're yours, probably.
Or if you've ever seen The fucking Shining.
Okay,
Red
fine.
rum.
Those
Red
twins
rum.
too.
Red rum. Did I ever tell you that my best friend and I dressed up like that this is before she moved to Nashville?
I keep getting Charlie to try and go as the twins with me for Halloween.
I'll have to show you the picture.
Yet.
My best friend and I look great. Back to Gemini. Gemini.
I do really appreciate the fact.
Gem.
I
loved it so much.
I was like, she's going to sing. No, she's not. Yes, she is. No, she's not.
Well, I was trying to think of the words. Gem. No, it's not Gem is amazing, but Gem and the holograms. So good. Okay.
Yep. Well, let's talk about, there's obviously shadow sides to all of these lovely zodiac signs. And I feel like for Gemini, it can be like trickery or like they can kind of come off as devious, I think. And I will say, though, I've personally felt like being a Gemini has given me a really unique perspective to see kind of both sides of the coin in discussions or arguments or anything like that. I've just kind of always felt like I was able to put myself in the shoes of different people. And I don't know if that's like an innately a Gemini thing because of the twins, but it's definitely somehow like a characteristic that I've felt.
I think that's such a gift because I think people that are able to also facilitate that in others is also a beautiful gift. Like, okay, I can appreciate where you're coming from. Have you thought about it from, this perspective? Because I know being a Scorpio, there are times where like my opinion is my opinion. Like, do not come at me. Do not give me a different perspective. I don't want to hear it. That is not something I'm going to absorb. Because we are so stubborn and strong-headed sometimes when especially like in the moment. Like in the moment, that's when we sting. It's not necessarily like all the time, but if you attack us, we are on guard.
Right. Yeah, I've never felt that way.
Yeah. So I think that is such a gift too when you can bring that into the picture and allow people to be like, have you thought about it from XYZ perspective and allow them to,
No, I definitely, I guess I would enjoy that part of the Gemini traits. But it does come with restlessness, for sure. And Geminis are talkative. We're fucking talkers. And it took me a long time. When I was younger, I didn't know how to like take it all in and have like conversation with depth, I don't think.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I could have like heady conversation where I was talking, but I was struggling to take in what I was hearing. because I was so in my own head with my own thoughts. And they were just like a million miles a minute.
I think that goes back to communication too, right? Because there can be verbal communication and then there's nonverbal communication. And I think when you're in a conversation, I struggle with that sometimes too, where if somebody says something and I want to respond to that something, I stop listening because then I'm like holding on to how I want to respond to whatever it is that someone said, which sometimes I have learned with age that you don't always have to give feedback. Every thought that comes into your brain based on something that somebody said doesn't necessarily need to be communicated to that person. You can just kind of let it go sometimes. And I think, when you're talking about how, when you were younger and how you would always have like these thoughts, but you wouldn't necessarily have deep conversations, I think that just goes with experience and goes with growth and goes with, aging.
I had to figure out how to communicate with people because I felt like I couldn't communicate very well. I wasn't being heard or people just didn't care like when I was young. And I mean, listen, when you are young, most people, especially middle school age, they don't give a fuck what you're saying.
Sometimes the communication when it comes to the adolescent years, they're just struggling to put thoughts together.
100%. But one thing that I learned was not to get lost in a sea of distractions and to just speak from the heart.
Always. I mean, always. Yeah. I think that is such a wonderful lesson to just speak from the heart. And this Gemini season is so positive. Like, I feel like the beginning part of 2025 was like fucking heavy and just like, oh my God. I felt like we were walking
is a year of transformation.
Quicksand, where it was like your feet get stuck and then you pick them up and you're like, oh my God, okay. We're like making progress forward, but it is taking so long. This Gemini season, things are starting to just flow.
Oh, we are riding a wave of transformation this year.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like the energy starts to pick up as far as the speed.
Well, I mean, Geminis too are very quick, like fast thinking people, right? And being an air sign, like everything's like moving all the time. So I think that that's part of it too, is like, okay, how do you harness this transformation of this season that's coming up? And there's so many tools, right? Obviously, we talked about writing. That's one. Divination is also attached to air signs. So tarot cards and oracle cards and pendulums and
for those who are listening, divination is basically asking for predictions that are to take place. So if you're asking for help in a particular area, this is going to give you the steps that you need to take to have that come into your future. So you can call it manifesting, you can call it predicting the future, but it does require work. And I always think that that's important to associate back to anything that we are talking about is you're still doing the work. Things are not going to just fall into your lap. They're not going to be given to you. You have to work at it. You have to put energy. It's like an energy exchange, right? So just keep that in mind. Harness the energy of whatever season it is. Look to divination. That's such a good part. I love divination now. It is such a helpful tool that I have in my toolbox that if I'm having one of those days, some days I wake up and I'm like, I got it. I got the plan. I know what I'm doing. I'm feeling motivated. And then other days I'm like, what? Like I'm just like in this like confused state. And if I ask for guidance, then I'm like, okay, I got it. Thank you. Thank you for putting me back on the path.
Yep. I mean, Gemini season is high vibes, high energy, and the ability to pivot is crazy for Geminis because we're just like, okay, yeah, we got to go this way. Cool. We're just going to go this way.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what you have to do in the moment. So I would say because of that, take a look at your values, your goals, your beliefs, and be like, okay, this is what is like important to me, and build your daily structure around the discipline of working towards that instead of flitting from thing to thing to thing, with Geminis can be prone to do, but allowing yourself to let that adaptability and that flexibility and that pivoting come in when you need it most.
I love that. I think for me too, in that same breath, because I can be prone to start things, I have gotten really into hard finishes, hard, strong finishes. There is something about the energy that comes with finishing a project.
Well, I think this is interesting though, because I think people have different definitions of what finished are.
I mean, nothing is ever truly finished, right?
No, and I think about this because my husband and I often have the conversation of, he's like, I cleaned the kitchen, right? And then I go in the kitchen and I'm like, my kitchen is not cleaned, right? Like, you cleaned some things in the kitchen. He's like, yeah, I'm all done. And I'm like, wait, but what about those 4 dishes over there? Or what about, you know what I mean? And I think that that's important to note, is that everybody sees different things. They have completely different perspectives.
Yes.
So your hard close or your hard finish on something is not going to be the same as mine.
No. And I think especially when you're working in a family structure, right? So you have children, you have a husband or a partner, and you are, okay, this is the project of the day. This is what we're going to get done today. That's the finish, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the whole project's done. But like last weekend, Graham and I had 2 projects that we were going to take care of. We were going to clean his closet, and then he also had to take care of Chewy's cage. He had to clean Chewy's cage completely, which is our chinchilla. And he started the closet and then got distracted. And I was like, no, we got to come back. We got to finish the closet. Well, can we take a break? I'm really hungry. Yes, we can take a break, go get some food, but we have to finish this project. It took him a long time to get to that point where we kept coming back, because there was different parts of the closet that we had to address. Like, there was clothes that he had to see if they fit him now. There were school projects that he had to put in his school binder. There was just these
one project
incremental
leads
things
to 15 other projects.
Right. All right, you're going to read something. I'm going to read something.
Okay.
Read away.
Story time. I actually got these astrology books.
Yes. You got one for me for Christmas.
I did. I got one for you. I got one for Charlie and for Evie. It does have these monthly forecasts.
Yes. Which I love.
Have you paid attention to yours?
I have.
Have they been accurate?
January was very accurate. February was very accurate.
Yeah, I also bought myself the Cap book, but I feel like sometimes it hits and sometimes it just does not. June. You'll be drawn to a variety of activities, from shopping with friends to more introspective interests such as reading. If you've been taking artistic classes, this will be the perfect time to showcase what you've learned with your family by presenting a public performance or art exhibition. Kind of public performance. And it does talk about health, work and money, love life. And I feel like some of the health stuff has been on the money, which is interesting. If you start exercising again, you'll understand the importance of a healthy diet for maintaining high energy levels. Super important for us Geminis, or anybody that really just wants to tap into Gemini season, which is really tapping into that high vibe, high energy. Heartburn can disrupt your activities. Buy some Tums.
Heartburn in general can disrupt some activities.
Foods that are high in salt, such as fast food, can cause bloating. I
don't know if that's a astrology prediction or if that's just fact. Talking with Carla,
some of this,
fast food is dead food.
Right. And some stuff hits in here and some doesn't,
yes,
right?
For
Obviously,
sure. Well, it's like anything
your
else.
income will likely increase through overtime work or from a bonus from your performance. Well, yeah, if you work overtime, your income is going to increase. So listen, guys, take all this with a grain of salt, because I don't necessarily love everything in this book, but I do think that we can gather some things from it that might pertain to us, and we can work with that energy.
Yeah.
If you're an experienced investor disappointed with your current returns, this could be the right time for a new venture. Opportunities abroad could involve traveling. I feel like opportunities abroad definitely include traveling.
Who wrote this?
I would like to rewrite this.
You need to proofread this.
Listen here, Chantel, mon petit.
Yeah, right. The overarching theme, though, for Gemini season is that there will be opportunities for new beginnings, networking, and career advancements. but it will require hard work and strategic planning, which for me, I think just jives, right? Like again, this goes back to you got to put in the energy, you got to put into the work. So if you want your health to improve, if you want your financial situation to improve, if you want your career to improve, you got to work.
And Gemini,
you got to work, bitch.
I'm talking to you directly.
Brittany.
Consistency will be your best fucking friend. That is how you will achieve.
And consistency can be hard.
Your things.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah. Consistency with me goes back to the word habit. You got to make it a habit. You just gots to.
If you haven't heard the term habit stacking, this is your sign.
I've never heard the term habit stacking.
Oh, yeah. Go research habit stacking. It's basically where you take a habit that you already have in place every day and you attach this new habit that you're trying to cultivate in your life to it.
Okay.
So you're like, all right, every day I go to the bathroom, but I always forget to wash my face. I never do my skincare, right? Well, when you wake up in the morning, before you go to the restroom, then you're like, oh, I'm just going to grab some micellar water and,
I'm learning so much because the micellar water I had no idea about either until this past week when we talked to you guys about it.
Yeah. And then just start like that. Or like, a lot of times it's like, oh, you want to go for a walk. Well, put your walking shoes near the door where you do this. I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times before, but stack it with something else that you're already doing.
Yes.
As a way to actually.
Okay. That makes sense. That tracks. I like it. Well, this is what I'm going to read. Gemini is called the butterfly of the zodiac.
I thought you were going to say butthole. I swear to God. I was like, my God, Rachael. No, go on, please.
Just that one where it was the trash can of the end of the zodiac.
Wait, who said that?
That was the Pisces. Yeah. So it's the butterfly of the zodiac, for it fleets from one situation to another in order to gain growth through many varied experiences. It is the most versatile and adaptable of signs, but it is not noted for concentration and persistence. The Chinese speak of it as the monkey sign because of the extreme restlessness.
Yep.
So I would say take those things that we just touched on that, you need to bring in concentration, persistence, and restlessness. And when they start to exhibit, they start to happen, then you can be like, oh, whoa. I got to rein it back in so I can get back to what it is that I am focusing on. So you don't deviate from getting to the goal of whatever it is that you're focused on.
I've always considered myself a calculated risk taker, and I can be very spontaneous. However, that cap energy comes in. I definitely purchased a plane ticket on a Friday for that day on a whim and just went to Miami. That's cool, as long as I have all my other shit taken care of. Right. If I have projects that are out there dangling, there's no way in hell I can do it. That productive part of me will not allow me.
Right.
But a girlfriend
you'll never be able to relax. Like, that's the whole point. Like, you can be spontaneous. Right. The spontaneity is actually just very strategically organized planning.
I mean, it wasn't when I was younger. It is as like in my 20s, it was not.
Listen, when we're in our 20s and we don't have children, that's a whole different ballgame.
So
but when you have humans.
Right, it's different. A good girlfriend and I lived together at one point, and I remember sitting on our stoop. I had packed my bag and I packed her bag, and I was just sitting on our porch waiting for her to come home from work one day, and I was like, we're going to DC. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to DC for Halloween. And we just got in the car and drove.
I love that.
It was so great.
I love that. We once did that. We went to Nicole and I with a couple other girlfriends. Our one friend was dating a Pittsburgh Penguin. So naturally, he was a Canadian. So we went to Canada and he had a home up there and we did it on a whim. And it was so funny because I realized on long road trips, Nicole doesn't like to wear pants. And I only realized this when we were pulling up to the border. And she's like, oh my God. She had like fallen asleep or whatever. She's like, I have to put my pants on. I was like, why do you not have pants on? She's like, oh, I can't wear pants on long road trips. What? I'm like, okay. So we're like pulling up and we're like giving them our birth certificates or whatever. And the guy was like, are you okay over there? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just putting my pants on. I was like, Jesus, Nicole. But yeah, I love spontaneous road trips. We don't do them anymore. But we did find a place that we're going to go. Okay. True story. The other day we were wrapping up our podcasts that will come out. It will already be out. So we have a podcast coming out with The Enchanted Table with Carla, and it's going to be amazing. And Krystyn and Carla connected over rings. They were wearing rings, and they were like, oh, did you get this at Lilydale? And Carla was like, yeah, I did. And I was like, what's Lilydale? It sounds like something out of Gilmore Girls, you know? Oh, it's this amazing little enchanted, mystical...
spiritual village.
Yes, a spiritual village in New York State. Mm-hmm. And I was pissed. Not like pissed, like angry, but I was like, what? How do I not know about this? Like, I was all about hearing you have to be a mystic of some sort. You have to have a spiritual gift, either a psychic, a medium, doing something with with your four clairs in the town to have a home in the town. And it just sounds so incredible. And then Carla was showing me videos and pictures of this little place, this little magical haven.
Then Rachael found out that I had been there, and she was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, why have we not gone there? Why are we not recording? Why have we not reached out to all these amazing women and men out there that live in this little tiny town? We need to go up there and just have like a whole weekend where we're like, we're going to record here.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd stay at that hotel. That might be too much energy for me.
I got an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that too, where I was like, I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I think I would need a little bit of a...
I got one that was in walking distance to Lake Erie, so I could walk on the beach.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lake Erie is the shit. I love Lake Erie. All right. So the Gemini season for 2025 is positive. It is a positive energy. It's a positive time. Yes, you still have to do the work as you always do. You're not going to get away from doing the work, but it's such a positive time to take that energy, put in the work, and just reap the benefits that will come. Because let me tell you, when you are doing things for the right reasons, following that path, listening to your intuition, everything falls in line from there. You will not be misguided. You will be given exactly what you need, exactly when you need it.
I want to remind you guys that this is about enjoyment. Geminis love to spend time with people. They love to enjoy the arts. I mean, they just love life, right? Geminis remind us that the world is wide. Words are magic, and change is not the enemy. It's the beginning of a great story. And if you want to connect online with a really great astrologer who also happens to be a Gemini, my favorite, our favorite, is Chris Corsini.
Unbelievable.
Someday we will be friends.
In real life,
real life friends. He's absolutely incredible. He does a free monthly horoscope for every single sign on his page. Go to his Instagram page and check it out. Support him. This is just a free plug for Chris Corsini.
Yeah, his YouTube is legit as well. So
yeah, and he has a whole team of astrologers that he works with as well to bring these amazing forecasts to you. So if you're looking for some Gemini energy in your life, astrologically speaking, go check him out.
All right.
We love you guys so much.
We do. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for listening to this episode. Like it, share it, comment, vibe it, all the things.
Email us if you want to know more about the zodiacs. We will be wrapping up our season later this year. And we've kind of been going back and forth about, do we continue the zodiac season and go a little bit deeper, talk about other things? Do we just let it rest for a while? So we would love your input as to if you feel like you need more, which, I mean, listen, we could talk about the signs forever. There's always a lot to talk about.
There is.
Thank you for loving on us.
Yes. Thank you for being with us on YouTube. If you're watching these videos, we love that you guys are here and supporting us. So, yeah. All right. Enjoy.